Welcome to Easy Peasy Books, From Author to Authority, the lively and engaging podcast for business professionals who've always believed they have a book in them. I'm your host, Jillian Whitney. Join me as I chat with authors and industry experts from all around the world to explore simple strategies to write, publish, and leverage your business book. Whether you're an entrepreneur, executive, or an employee, this podcast is for you. Woohoo! And we're live once again on another Tuesday, and I have a new friend in the house today in the lone state of Texas. We're both in Texas, so that's kind of fun. And she's sort of in the north, and I'm sort of in the south, sort of. Central Texas. It's a big state. It's a big state. So anyways, without further ado and me rambling, I have Bonnie Daneker in the house today. We are talking about from series to multi-genre, expanding your author brand beyond one book. So that is our topic. It is a mouthful. And Bonnie, before we get stuck in, can you please introduce yourself and tell people who you are and what you do?
Yes, and thank you for having me on here, Jillian. I so enjoy talking to you. Really appreciating your friendship. I am a publishing industry person involved with the industry 20 plus years. I have been a publisher. I have been a book coach. Over 120 book projects have passed through our company's hands. And most appreciatively and affectionately, I have been a working writer and a working author. So I have 18 books under the authorship or co-authorship of my writing, and some of those are out now. Some of those are to be released. But it is one of the great joys in my life to contribute to the literary canon, and I feel really privileged to be part of that.
Oh, that's absolutely wonderful and quite prolific in terms of your business and how many people you have gotten their books out into the world. And then, of course, yourself. And that was, and I'm just going to give a heads up to everybody that Bonnie and I met through LinkedIn through a post. She wrote a post about going to a bookshop. It resonated for me. We started talking in the DMs, and we share a passion for books, bookstores, libraries, and everything in between. So it just goes to show you that responding to you can meet people in the comments. So I wanted to just put that out there. When you see someone and so, oh, that's a kindred soul, go for it because you probably have a lot in common. And so one of the things that I noticed about Bonnie is I immediately went to her, LinkedIn profile, looked at her profile, looked on Amazon, saw all the different books that she read. And I was so impressed that she had multi-genres. And what I mean by that is she has books about business, and she has books about relationships, and she has books about caregiving and healthcare, and a wide range of books. She's done books on her own, and she's collaborated with people. And she also has books in a series. And so I went, wow, that's a lot of diversity. And I know that people who are either watching the live today or listening to the podcast, if they're a prospective author and they have never written before, never written a book or published a book, they might feel like, oh, I have so many book ideas in me, but maybe I should just do this kind of book because if I start doing a bunch of books, it'll be like, oh, I look scattered. So I don't think so. I think the more the merrier. And so that's what attracted me to you, Bonnie, is having all these different things. So I'm going to ask you first, what was your first book? Because you have so many books. What was your very, very first book?
First I have a comment and say my husband lovingly calls me a genre fluid writer, right? Because I have written in so many different capacities and different genres and subgenres. My first true book was on caregiving of cancer patients, and I took care of my father. I couldn't find what I needed, and my father, knowing that I was a writer, a journalist first, and then a marketing professional, he said, "You can't find it, write one." And I ended up writing such a volume. My husband calls it the Encyclopedia of Caring for Cancer Patients. That the publisher divided it into 5 books, and so those were easy for caregivers to use as a tool to walk through caring for their loved one. So, from there, I expanded into selling some merchandise, which was really important. People wanted a caregiving kit. They wanted a tool for showing caregivers love. So I had a basket of hand lotion and towels and mugs and warm teas, and several other things that were content extensions of what I had provided when I was, working in my full-time life, I was a project manager in technology, and the president said, "Bonnie, I'd like to do this project, and I know you're familiar with books, and multiple ways to publish. Can you help me do this?" So we created a, large anthology. 58 people were interviewed or submitted their content on professional women's journeys in the technology field. So it's called Climb. Leaders in technology share their women in technology share their secrets to success. And from there, I heard so many women saying, "I've always wanted to write a book and I don't know how." And that launched me into founding the first literary consultancy in the state of Georgia, where I lived for 30 years. And we began to take on first 6 clients from that particular projects of women that wanted to write books. They didn't know how, they didn't know who to trust. And then grew into a multimedia company where we were able to help not only people write books, but expand their content into feature film and documentary, games, social media, keynotes, merchandise. So that really grew into a responsibility for me to teach my author clients the business of authorship. So part of that was creating your brand and what can your audience expect from you as a writer. And it doesn't mean that you're always writing the same content. It means that you're able to speak to your audience the way they need to be spoken to and give them what they want. So it's not just on the nonfiction side where the majority of my work is done, but also the fiction side. We have responsibilities to entertain and to enlighten. And if we happen to educate on the fiction side, that's terrific. But the main purpose of what we do is to connect. And I feel like over the years, watching my work, but also my clients' works, I've been able to see how to do that.
I love that. I love that. And that is something that I actually said to you before we started the show today. We were talking backstage, and I said, it's interesting that you have all these different genres, and yet the common thread that I saw throughout them was about building relationships, the human element of people. So in your book, Climb, about women, you're talking about, all their different experiences. So they're talking from a heart level instead of just a head level, their journeys. When we talk about your series in a second, because I want to talk about your series, you have these stoplights are for dot, dot, dot. The first one's stoplights are for kissing, and you have all these different, and it's all about building a better relationship with whoever you're in a relationship with. So, with you, it's your spouse, but it's just such a wonderful thing that, in this age of AI that we're in with books, that your common theme is humans and human to human contact. So I just wanted to let you know about that.
Yes, thank you. And that is one of my missions. I want to deeply touch my readers. And I want to be able to provide them experiences that show I care about where they are in their audience journey. Most writers don't think about the evolution of their audiences. There is a sophistication level that the audience members will reach because they consume so much content. So if you have created a world, let's say you're writing in science fiction, you've created a world, you can expect that your readers who are reading in the second series will know that world. Um, it- One thing that really was important to me in learning about this business of authorship was we used to consider ourselves as content providers. That was our mission as writers, whatever kind of content. Now we need to think of ourselves not only as content providers, which we are, but also as product managers who are serving an audience that is constantly shifting and changing. So, one of the books that I wrote years ago was a co authored work called It's In There. It's a story, Prego Spaghetti Sauce. I wrote it with Bill Hildebolt, who is the product developer from Campbell's. When he was the product developer, he did not initially envision Alfredo sauce, low sodium, with meat, right? He wanted the first marinara product, but it grew to that over time because his audience, our eating consumers, needed that. And not only that, there were cookbooks and there were other commercials and wonderful ways to communicate the Italian American experience in the home, which really spread the love of Italian American cuisine. So it was a lot bigger than one book, one project called Prego. And this is a change in how we've been thinking about it. Put a book out there and it's done. This is a relationship, like we keep saying, about how we can touch people's lives. You mentioned Stoplights. This is my book of love, and it's a series of a book of love. So my husband and I have been married over 20 years, and it was that, and then two other things. The Surgeon General's report on loneliness, the epidemic of loneliness. And then the third thing was the orange peel theory on TikTok that went viral, where it was it's like a 9-second clip of someone showing you an orange and your loved one and saying, "Would you peel this orange for me?" And how your loved one responds to you is a reflection of your relationship. Are they going to peel it and give you a napkin and say, "Here you go, honey," which is what my husband would do? Or are they going to say, "Do you have to eat it now?" Or "I just got my nails done." Or, there's a knife. So there are a lot of ways that you can answer that question, and how you do is reflective of your relationship. Well, people ask me all the time about how my husband and I stay so fresh and so together, united in our marriage. And so I ended up writing this book, and it's called Stoplights Are for Kissing. And it's simple ways to show love to your partner, your spouse, easy, low cost, no cost ways. And it just caught fire. So I ended up also writing one for showing love in your friendships. So that's called Stoplights Are for Laughing. And the third one is, how do you show more love in your family? And that's Stoplights Are for Singing. So the stoplights idea are the 20 seconds that you have when you're in the car with your loved one, with your friend, with your family, where you see the red light, and how you respond in those 20 seconds is really also indicative of your relationship. And in my world, I like to lean over and kiss my husband. It's a loving gesture. It's easy, and it's a whole lot easier than fighting over the podcast that we're listening to, or yelling at traffic or whatever. And the same for your friendships. Are you laughing together, at a joke, at a shared memory? Or with your family, are you reminiscing about trips you've taken before? Are you sharing the map between each other and collecting, that wonderful experience, the shared voyage that you're taking? So it was an unplanned version, or unplanned expansion of my Stoplights Are for Kissing book that developed, um, and even more so, one of the lessons that I want to say as you think about providing more to your audience is that you need to think about the outside the box. It's not only extra books or content on the website and so forth, it might be merchandise and products. So I never thought I was going to be selling pajamas. Who would have thought? But in my Stoplights Up for Kissing book, one of the ways to show love is to heat up your spouse's pajamas when it's cold outside, or when they're just coming in from the rain or something. Put them in the dryer, the pajamas in the dryer for like 15 seconds, and it is really warm and wonderful to put them on. So people were asking me about that, and so I was selling blue flannel pajamas with my logo on them. And that led to other content extensions, chocolates, and giving cards, which are still available today. We sold out of the pajamas, and we sold out of the chocolates, and we've seasonally introduced other things. But we have giving cards, which are like playing cards, but you show them to your loved one and say, pick one, and this is a beautiful gesture that I will do for you today. So we currently have the giving cards for spouses and partners. We don't have them yet for the laughing book, which is for your friends, or the singing book, which is for your family, but those may be on the horizon.
I love that. I love that. And, you know, I think the message is that you don't have to spend a lot of time making people feel special. And I know, like with my husband, every once in a while, I'll see a meme. I'll just see a meme on the internet and it makes me laugh. So I text it to him and it's just like, it's just a one off. It's not going to do anything with it, but it'll make him smile. And sometimes it's just such a small little thing that you can do for people, but that seems to be the commonality of your book is that you're bringing your personal experience and saying, "Okay, I need to share this with the world because this is how I have had a 20-year successful marriage." And, going back to your first book with the caregiving with your father, well, many of us have had some sort of special experience and we've learned from it. It's heartbreaking. Sometimes the lessons are heartbreaking of what we go through, but when we can turn that around and put it into a book and then kind of pay it forward to the world, I think that makes the world a better place. So I like that.
I like that too, and I thank you for saying it that way. I really feel like there's a place for that in fiction too. There are a lot of messages that we can glean from well-written fiction. They're often a reflection of what's going on in society, of what is and what can be, right? So can you imagine a world where things are a little bit different? Or that things are happening, but suddenly we have 2 or 3 possible solutions. We were joking the other night about Star Trek and the movie Gattaca and some of these other, Star Wars things that are real in our lives right now, right? So I've coached in science fiction, and they do a tremendous amount of research about scientifically what is possible, and then they stretch it. And so in that way, they're kind of foretelling the future, but often giving messages. So I recently listened to a fantastic book called The One by John Mars, and he's a British writer, and it's been since made into a Netflix movie. I didn't know that, but I used to beat myself up for not knowing about every book that came out, but now now I'm a little more forgiving. So anyway, this came out in 2016 about finding your perfect DNA match, and what are the repercussions if you're matched by someone you're not expected. And that really is fascinating to me because I was talking to someone in the genetic space that said they're playing with that right now. And I think that's kind of interesting. I mean, there were a lot of lessons in the book, and so we'll see how that plays out, but we can learn a lot from fiction as well as nonfiction.
I agree. I agree. I agree. So let me hop over and see who is joining us today in our audience. So we have Jeff Young. He is my favorite fan. He's always here. I love it. He's always cheering me on. Lets me know we're coming in loud and clear on YouTube. He says this should be very interesting. Jillian and Bonnie, namaste. And then he hops right over to LinkedIn and shows me we're streaming loud and clear on LinkedIn. So he says, greetings from the front row in Columbus, Ohio. So we've gone from Texas and we're off to Columbus, Ohio now. And now we're going to go across the pond. We've got Tina Jarvit. And then Jeff says, what a fascinating journey, Bonnie. It sounds like if you have done it, you have written a book about it. Is that a great moniker though, to just say, I've done it, been there, done that, and wrote the book instead of got the t-shirt. But then maybe the content extension is, and I got the t-shirt.
That's a beautiful thing to say. Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be able to be a little flexible, be a little creative. I think, my mom used to say creativity is the mother of invention, and necessity is the mother of creativity, right? So it's a little spin off what is the common way to say it. And I think because we've got the good technology behind AI, and I am a proponent. I did some promotional work for our Dallas AI group, but I think we are challenged as writers and as communicators, as information providers and content managers and product managers, that we have to be extra creative on how we get this material to our audiences that want it and need it.
So, do you want to kind of elaborate on that and talk about how you would, how would you suggest we use AI as writers and authors?
It's funny, I had two interesting conversations last week about AI. One of them was from a startup out of New York that is interested in servicing working authors to help them provide content more easily. And I think it's fantastic, and I would love to be an advisor for them. And one thing they would be interested in doing also, in addition to the portfolio of features and products, is helping authors or content providers, coaches, and experts create books. And there are ways that you can decide the progress of how you want your content to be relayed, and follow a project plan. So, obviously, as a book coach, we have project plans in my company that we use, and so there can be a methodology clearly that you can look to AI for. I mean, mine is proprietary, and if I continue to work for this company, maybe that will be available as an AI tool. So that was something that was interesting. The second one was, from a with a friend of mine who does not speak English as her first language. She speaks as her third language, Portuguese and Spanish being first and second. But she uses AI to create amazing content. She has a marketing company, and you would not know that English is her third language. So she is able to communicate how precisely she wants the end product to be that's generated by AI. So she gets these amazing results. And that's how I think we writers need to use our ChatGPT, our Baird, our Gemini, whatever we're using, is to be precise on our prompts so that we can get some material that we need. I'm not suggesting that we ask them to write it. I'm suggesting we say, give us research, give us background, look at the competitive landscape on our idea, on our concept to see what has been written. How do we fit in with the other work that's being done, not only locally and regionally in the industry, but in the world, right? What is coming out? What are the forecasted books that our publishers are saying that they're going to be releasing, right? So, for example, 6 months ago, it was real focus on the Asian American voices, the underrepresented African American voices, ESL voices, and you see that. So, as writers, we want to complement that. We want to contribute valuable works. We don't want to just write the same thing. It's interesting. I had a client who came to me, a physician, a pulmonologist in the space, and he said, "Bonnie, I want to write a book about sleep." And I said, "Have you taken a look at this other book that's out there on the market?" So this gentleman was working, 100 hours a week. He didn't have time to see what else was on the competitive landscape. But when I showed him this other book, he said, "Ah, there's so much in there that matches what I was going to say." So what he did was he took some time and reworked his manuscript. I just took a look at it a couple of weeks ago, and it not only validates in truth behind what this PhD wrote, with his MD and direct patient clinical knowledge, to say this is building on that, and here's more. And that's again what I invite our authors to do, is to say, look at the sophistication of your audience, try to figure out what they know, what they've already read, or where their interests are, and build on that. Take it to the second level. Make sure that you're always ahead of them in their learning or in their entertainment. And that'll make sure that you're more relevant than what AI is generating from automatically looking at content that's already out there. So we can provide the new stuff, and not rely on some of the old stuff, which is what AI can pull from, right? So it doesn't do a lot of original composition. It does a lot of collaborative kind of coagulation of the content that's out there. And I think it just doesn't have that ability yet to infuse it with that emotional connection and to anticipate what the evolving author will or what the evolving audience will need.
I can see that. And also, too, I think AI, kind of going back to the whole idea, if you wanted to write in a series, is that you could say, what would be the next related thing that would go with this first book? Because some people, like I'm in the middle of writing a series, but I knew I was going to do at least 3 or 4 books. So I planned the first book knowing that there's a 2 and a 3 and a 4, and I've already got them kinda drafted out. They're not written yet, but the content is there in an organized format. But like you just said, your stoplights are for kissing. You wrote that one book, and then you got the idea of the second book and the third book. It kinda grew organically, but that's something where you'd say, "Hey, my book got a lot of response. What could be a related book and get AI to give you those suggestions as well?"
Oh, I love that idea. Well, also, ask people how they use AI, right? And ask people what they want. I love interacting with people at book signings or author showcases just to say, how is this landing with you? You're not going to know about your audience needs without interacting with your audience. And I really understand, I like people, but I am an introvert. I think most people are. We like to interact with the written word. We like to be introspective, and it's sometimes hard for us to be a little extroverted or market our own work or get that feedback. Heaven forbid it's criticism, right? So I feel you. I have experienced all of that. So but really taking the chance and asking. The feedback and hearing it is better than not knowing.
Mm, absolutely, absolutely. So, what's next for you? So, you do you have what's your, multi-genre what's sort of your next project that's coming down the pike?
Thank you. It's an ever evolving field. I have collaborated on someone for historical fiction novels to be released. That's a lot of fun. And then also, I am working on a novel which is about the current state of our identity. It's where we fit in the world. And it's one of those fiction books that is a commentary on our culture and, where we are going. I really like to stay current with analysis of humankind, and I'm reading 2 really great books right now, and I'm infusing some of that learning into my manuscript. So, if I could just do a shout out to Yuval Noah Harari, his book *Sapiens: A Brief History of Humankind*. I'm just reading the title right now, so I get it exactly right. He just released the 10th anniversary edition, which I bought because I wanted to compare with prior work, and that is just so fantastic. He didn't anticipate that he would do that content extension and do the revision 10 years ago, but's doing it. And then another one is reinventing knowledge. I just have to show you this one. It's from Alexandria to the Internet, and it's by Ian McNeely and Lisa Wolverton, 2 married linguistic
Mm.
professionals, which I wish they would do an updated version. This was released in 2008, all of it historically correct. So, infusing my work with current analysis or updated analyses of what is going on with humankind and keeping that opportunity for deeply touching people because they are experiencing it right now.
I love that. So you've actually proved that good writers are good readers, because I think as I'm a lifelong learner too, and I notice that you talk about yourself like that. And I truly believe that the more we read, the better we become as writers, because we take those ideas from here, here, and here, and then they kind of move it around, and then you put your own slant on it. And there you go. You got a book. So that's great.
Positively go back to the lovely cut and paste idea. Yeah, I love that. Well, I thank you again for asking about my current projects. I have, of course, the website for my author's greenhouse company, but as I move more into writing full time, there's a Bonnie B. Daneker website out there which has more information. And, your listeners, your viewers can always reach out to me through either of those. They have a contact form, and I love the feedback. I love to hear what people have to say. So they are certainly welcome to contact me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. You've shared a lot of great knowledge and a lot of great of your insights. And I just love that your message is it's okay to cross genres. It's okay to make a series or not make a series, collaborate, go solo. Basically, if you've got an idea for a book, just keep it, move it forward. And if you've already got an old book out there, go ahead and update it. It's like keep going. So don't be a one-hit wonder, so to speak.
Exactly. That's a great summary.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Bonnie, for being here, and we will see you all next time. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Easy Peasy Books, From Author to Authority. If you found value in today's episode, I'd be grateful if you could leave us a review. It helps other aspiring authors discover our podcast. To learn more about writing, publishing, and leveraging your business book, visit my website at easypeasybooks.com.